Okay. Um, so we're going to talk about something that's a little contrary to what you may have heard as far as lessons and things. And it's an important part of playing, and I call it doodling around. It's a scientific term. I think you could look that up. Doodling. I believe that term came from a doctor. I believe his name was Dr. Doolittle. Okay. No. So doodling, I think, is important. Here's the deal. Here's the drill. So what I find, when I was a kid, way back in the turn of the century. No. I remember many times playing, coming home. I have my music lesson, right? Because I took lessons since I was probably about 12 or 13. And I would do my music lesson, and then I would what I would call doodle around, okay? And I would doodle around, and I would just kind of play things, and I guess improvise, you can say. Just kind of improvise on the drums. I didn't call it improvising, but that's what it was. Just improvising on the drums. So basically, that's where, to me, all the creativity comes from, right? I mean, you're practicing, everything's so regimented. You could go on YouTube and watch all these drum guru guys, and they're all regimented, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, do 20 minutes of rudiments, this. And I'm not saying that's bad. All this stuff, and we do all these regimented things, and then we put our drumsticks down and we go upstairs, and we're like, man, that was a great workout. I worked on my paradiddle and my triple radimacue, and I worked on this style, and I did this, and I worked on... Okay, that's great, but usually the creativity comes from playing, and that's practicing. There's a huge difference between playing and practicing, and I think more often than not nowadays all we do is practice and we don't play, especially if we're not with a band. We're not getting a chance to play. So I think doodling around is important, and here's what I've found, and I know this is hard to believe, but it's actually true. I could tell you 90%, I'm going to say 95%. I've come to actually think about this, and it's true. 95% of the time, when I come down here for the sole purpose of doodling, I'm going to come up with something that I've never played before. I'm going to come up with an idea, a concept, a riff, something that I was like, man, I don't think I've ever done that before. And I do it from doodling. So the whole idea, and I'm going to doodle, and I don't normally do this because doodling requires me to play a lot. And most of my videos, I don't play too much. I talk a little, I play the thing. But this is going to require me to have to sort of, you'll have to indulge me. I'm going to have to actually solo, basically, and just do things totally stream of consciousness, top of my head. I have no preconceived ideas, and that's the point. No preconceived ideas of what I'm going to play. And I almost always come up with new ideas and new things. And it's because you let all of that practice and all of the stuff that you're working on, and then you say, okay, here's all the stuff I've learned, and everybody's learned different things, right, throughout their lives of playing. So all of the stuff I've learned, I'm going to sit down, and I'm just going to let it flow out of me. And some days it flows better than others. But the point is to let it flow and then try to remember the things you're doing. And when you find something you like and you're like, wow, that was cool, then work on that. Then stop and say, I'm gonna work on that little lick or fill because I don't remember doing that. The more stuff you have in your bag of tricks, right? Obviously the more you're going to be able to perform on the drums. But everybody who's practiced for any amount of time has something. So doodling is important. Don't let all the stuff that tells you, oh, you have to know 15 minutes of this, 10 minutes of this, 12 minutes of this, maybe play a song. That's all great, but doodling is just as important for creativity because practice is not the same as performance. And you want to perform. All the stuff you practice is for the point of performance. So you need to take all that and you need to doodle with it because a lot of the stuff you come up with when you're doodling, you have not seen in a book. It's just the actual expression of you playing, and then you come up with things. And I'm telling you, every time I do this, I come up with something. I come up with a riff, I come up with a fill, I come up with a rhythm, I come up with something that I swear, at least to my ear, I don't remember ever doing that before, even after 40 years of playing. And drummers always say, oh, I come up with new ideas. So I'm going to doodle. I don't know how long I'm going to doodle for. I'm going to let the recorder go on, because it might take a half hour. It might take 10 minutes. It might take 20 minutes. But I bet you within this session, and you have to just trust me, but I bet you in this session I'm going to come up with something. I got nothing on my board. Nothing. It is 8:38 in the morning. My neighbors probably won't be happy. It is 8:38 in the morning. I still got my sweatpants on. I came down here. I have not played at all. I have no idea if I'm going to play jazz, if I'm going to play Latin. I have no clue. I'm going to sit down. The first hit of the drum is the first time I'm going to play anything. And then you're kind of going to be voyeurs. Is that how you say it? Are you a voyeur? You're going to be looking in on my doodling, okay? And I'm going to just play around and create. And whatever leads me, I'm gonna go in that direction. Have no clue. Which means there's going to be a lot of mistakes, because there's no performance situation. It's going to be, I'm just going to play without any regard to anything and see what happens. So there will be no editing, but there will also be plenty of mistakes, because the point isn't to play perfectly. The point is just to play freely and see what comes out of that that freedom of expression and creativity. So here we go. That's something different for me. Including drop sticks. Do not let the drop sticks sour your performance. Just keep surging forward. That was kind of nice. I liked what I did there. That was different. Had to do with these doubles moving around the kit. Okay, but that's just the first thing. It was 2 minutes. All right, continuing on. 2/16 with a 16th in between on a 1, 2, 3, 4. I like that. About electric drums is what I'm going to do is I'm going to record that lick so I don't forget it. Of course, you can do that with if you have a tape recorder by you. And then I export that into a thumb drive, and then I keep all these ideas on there and I go back, but I like that one. Now, I may have played that in some configuration in the past, but maybe not with that voicing. And the voicing is what rings different to me. And really that came up from this double bass thing, which I would not normally launch into. But again, if I had a concept, I would probably have stayed clear of the double bass. But I have no concept. I have no direction. other than just randomness, which got me there, which got me to, which I like. So that's kind of something. Now, here's the bad thing. That groove that I liked earlier, I did not record. And since that groove, as my students will tell you, Joe Soretti, was new and total improv, I don't remember what that was. Whatever that was, of course I have it here on video so I can watch back. But but that was probably close. But I have it on there. So it's a good idea to have a tape recorder or something around to record your ideas, and then you can work on them later. All right, a couple more minutes, but I like that riff. Okay, so that one, I probably won't forget that, because I worked on that enough in this. I've got it taped here. That little fill... you could put your metronome on to make sure you're playing stuff in time.
1, 2, 3.
I really recommend putting the guy's voice on. I think it's a huge help for, especially if you're playing some over the bar line, which I'm going to be doing another video on, kind of stuff.
1, 2,
you can
3,
really keep track
4,
of where you're
1,
at.
2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4.
So
1, 2, 3,
I'm going to put this
4.
up around
1,
120.
2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1,
Okay. All right, so out of my 20 minutes of noodling, not only did I get practice in, obviously, with different things, but I came up with what I think is kind of a cool new lick. So that's cool. So there you go. Noodle around. It's fun. Lots of ideas. Have a recorder if you don't have electric drums, something to tape your ideas so you don't forget them. And it should be as much a part of your practice routine as anything, because you need to perform the stuff you're practicing. And without it, it's really just a bunch of notes on a page that you're just used to looking at. And, a lot of drummers often say, man, I sound stiff, or, I can't quite, my feel is not good. And you're so focused on looking at these notes in a book, and you're just practicing. Yeah, that sounds stiff, because you're not really playing, you're just practicing these notes on a page. So you got to sit down and take the stuff off the page and play a little, express yourself. Everybody sounds different. Everybody has their own creativity in them. You have to express it, and you can't express it if you're just looking at page 14, line 6. And I love Ted Reed, and I love all these exercise books where there's all these variations, and those are great. And you can work on, eighth notes on the hi-hat, quarter notes on the hi-hat, quarter note on here, eighth note on the bell, left hand's doing this. Those are all great. But at some point, you've got to take it off the page and express it. And I think a good idea is to noodle. Did I say noodle or doodle? I'm going to let you choose. You could noodle or you could doodle. You could noodle and doodle, or doodle and noodle. You can do whichever one you want. The point is to express yourself on your drums and not worry about making mistakes. It's not, there's no one recording you. There was someone recording me, but there's no one recording you. You just want to express yourself, and you just want to enjoy playing, and try to force yourself not to have these preconceived ideas of what you're going to play. Go where your hands lead you, basically, wherever they lead you. And you'll find some cool things that come out of you naturally, I think. So there you go. That's my lesson for this week. Create. Enjoy. And why did I drop all those sticks at the beginning of this video? That is something I'm going to explore when I turn this off. So there you go. Practice, practice, practice. And then noodle, 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 doodle, doodle, doodle. Cock-a-doodle, doodle. I have no idea what I'm doing right now. I'm trying to think of another name for Noodle. Mr. Noodle. If any of you remember Elmo? He had a neighbor called Mr. Noodle. And I don't think he ever played the drums, and it really doesn't mean anything. But I like Mr. Noodle. Seemed like a nice guy.